A Rock County board member is addressing a slip of the tongue he made during a board meeting, leading to several accusations. NBC 15's Shayna Najawan met with Brian Knutson. Now, Shayna, Knutson says flyers have been distributed all throughout the county calling him a sex trafficker.
Mark, the flyers came out after Knutson didn't clearly state his stance on child sex trafficking during a board meeting. He says he omitted the word "not" when approving a resolution, triggering a group of people to start distributing what he refers to as a slander campaign.
The local government has been getting rougher and rougher, dirtier and dirtier, and this is to the point of being uncivil.
Omitting one word.
I did not realize that I had a tongue slip because everything else I said throughout the whole course of the rest of the meeting pretty much made it clear what my position was.
District 10 Rock County Supervisor Brian Knudsen says this is all it took for flyers containing allegations surrounding child sex trafficking to start circulating.
The big explosion was when one of my neighbors sent me a text of the poster with my picture on it. Extremely horrible accusations on it, and I thought, holy moly, this is atrocious. How could people stoop to this level?
Knudsen says the flyers even being distributed in public businesses.
Somebody from Jefferson County actually contacted me and told me that they were handing out literature at the movie theater. Well, I immediately drove to the movie theater, and I thought it would be outside. It was inside the movie theater. They had permission to do this.
District 24 Supervisor Jim Farrell says it isn't the first time this has happened to a board member. Farrell says he was also targeted after he suggested the board should not discuss sex trafficking and immigration during meetings.
Because I took a stand of not having a resolution, there's certain parties that feel that, well, you disagree with me, so all gloves off.
Both members of the board feel certain topics don't belong in their discussion.
That's not what local government should be about. We all need to get along. We're losing focus of what we're on the board to do.
Knutson said he has been in contact with county post offices and the Rock County Sheriff's Office, adding that putting hate mail into U.S. postal boxes is a crime. Live in the studio, Shayna Najawan, NBC 15 News.